The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies 7 distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons. Hi, welcome to the West Ham Massive. Please don't forget to drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new around here, hit the notification bell, click all, and don't forget, most importantly, leave your comment below on what your thoughts are on the topics I'm going to discuss on today's video. Little bit of a disclaimer, just in case it's needed. If adult language offends you, you might want to move on at this point, because I can't lie, I might let the odd curse word out. So if this is offensive to you, stop watching now. Before you go, you can still like the video and subscribe to the channel. Okay, you join me on the dog walk. Hang on, here's my dog. Here she is, jumping up. There she is, beautiful girl. Good girl, Winnie. Right, so a couple of things I wanted to sort of get your thoughts on. Hang on while I just sort the dog out. Just crossing a road, and she's a pup. Story in the news today regarding West Ham, and it relates to Divine Mubama. So, as we know, Divine Mubama made his debut last season away at Steaua Bucharest, FCSB, whatever you want to call them, in the Europa Conference League. We thought he scored a goal at the time. It was later chalked out, made an own goal. But he played in another game later against Larnaca at London Stadium, scored a goal. He scored an absolute bucket load of goals for the under 18s, under 21s, part of the squad that won the FA Youth Cup, that won Premier League South last season. And a lot of good things have been said about this kid. I think he could be the future. I emphasise the word could. There's been many players that I've seen down the years in youth team football that have been touted as the next big thing. And then something happens, you know, whether it's, you know, something in their private life, whether it's an injury, whatever. There's all sorts of things that can affect the development and the progress of a young footballer, and he is in that category. But be that as it may, he is a potential star of the future, I believe, for West Ham United, if things go according to plan. So fast forward to the summer, and obviously there was all of the nice words that came from the direction of the first team coaching staff, giving him lots of praise, lots of plaudits, and there was a lot of thoughts about his playing time in the first team, because he didn't go out on loan like Freddie Potts did, and Freddie Potts is doing very well at Wycombe Wanderers, as it has to be said. He's obviously gone out on loan, whereas Mubama stayed in and around the first team squad. Now, despite the fact he was given a lot of pats on the back, a lot of nice words and all the rest of it, as of right now, Divine Mubama has played 0 minutes of Premier League football, and I do think there were opportunities. It's not that he's not had game situations where I believe it would have been a good move to involve him, for a number of reasons. Let's take the the Aston Villa game away a couple of weeks back at Villa Park. So Divine Mubama's sitting on the bench. We're 4-1 down. The game's done. Let's be completely honest. The game is sorted. Divine Mubama could have come on in that game. I've said this for ages. In a game where the outcome is already determined, there's absolutely no harm, in my view, of getting one of the youth players, if there's a youth player on the bench in the first place, of course, which with David Moyes doesn't happen as regularly as I believe it ought to, but that's another story. But Mubama was on the bench there. He could have been utilised. It wouldn't have made any difference if you brought him on. As far as the result was concerned, we'd already lost. You could have brought him on there, Mr. Moyes. He didn't. We then fast forward to the game against Brentford on Saturday. Again, David Moyes makes some fairly predictable and fairly uninspiring, and I even thought that at the time, not just the fact that they didn't impact on the game, but they were fairly uninspiring substitutes in a guy that we love in Pablo Fornals, but we can see that his confidence has gone. And Danny Ings, who's been a great professional, scored goals at many clubs, Burnley, Liverpool, Southampton, Villa, but he's just a piece of the jigsaw that doesn't quite fit. He doesn't quite fit into the David Moyes style of play. And that's not really Danny Ings' fault, I don't think. You know, I'm sure he was given certain assurances when he walked through the door from Aston Villa. Can't remember how much we paid for him as a transfer fee, 10 million, whatever it was. But he was on 125k a week. I'm sure him and his representatives were given certain assurances about how he would be used. And I'm pretty sure that that's not how the reality's panned out. But they were the only two substitutes that he used. So I sort of look at it and go, there was an opportunity, you could have brought him on. So anyway, we're now hearing that Divine Mubama, who is refusing to sign a contract, what a surprise, now David Sullivan's getting involved in the act, in this process. I'm hearing this is coming from ex-WHU employee, so this is as reliable a source as it gets, that David Sullivan's now going to intervene in the contract standoff involving Divine Mubama to try and see if he can get the youngster to put pen to paper. Now, why am I bringing this to your attention? Well, really, I actually think there's some subliminal messaging going on with this. This is just my opinion. Now, if David Sullivan is trying to get Divine Mubama to sign a contract, what do you think will get him to sign that contract? Because I'm trying to put myself in the mind of Divine Mubama. 18 years of age, trying to sort of forge a career as a professional footballer. And I think the only thing that would get me to stay, quite frankly, given if I was Divine Mubama, I haven't played any minutes of Premier League football. I've played 24 minutes in the League Cup and that's it. Despite a load of words that came out in the summer about what you thought of me, this manager clearly doesn't rate me, doesn't trust me, doesn't believe in me, doesn't have the courage of his words. So what would be the one thing that would get me to stay on a 30k contract? Probably if David Sullivan came to me and said, put the pen to paper, mate, because this clown won't be here once the summer hits. We're getting someone new in, and this guy will be someone I'm pretty sure will be someone that you'll enjoy playing under. That would be probably the only thing that would get me to sign, if I had an assurance from the man at the top, the very top of the club, Mr. Sullivan, the majority shareholder, that David Moyes' time at West Ham is drawing to its natural conclusion. That is what I would suspect. The conversation will be. So that's what I pretty much think, and it's a shame. And this is the other thing I wanted to talk about, because when you look at David Moyes, here is a manager that really should be universally celebrated, revered amongst West Ham fans, in the same bracket as the John Lyles, the Ron Greenwoods, the Billy Bonzes, those names that have gone through our history and are loved even to this day, long after their departure from the club. So why is it? And I suspect I know the answer. I suspect you know the answer. And again, you have a comment section below. I think it's all to do with the style of football and his reluctance to use youth team players. So I wonder, you know, this is a guy who, in the history of our club, has the best win percentage of any West Ham United manager. He's got a piece of silverware in his back pocket. One of only 3 managers in our history to win major silverware, and he's one of them. This is a guy that should be celebrated, that should be a god at our football club. Let's be fair. And yet, the way that it is now, I don't think there'd be too many people that would be sad to see David Moyes walk out of the door of London Stadium and not return. And when you think about it, just look at what he did for the club, what he's done for the club. He comes in after Slaven Bilic is relieved of his duties. We're in a relegation battle. He comes in, he steers us clear of relegation. And at that point, he's shaken by the hand. Thanks very much, Mr. Moyes, for we're going in a different direction. Now, we then later, a year and a half later, we have the Pellegrini era come to its conclusion, and they turn to Mr. Moyes once again. We're in the relegation shit once more. Now, I think a lot of people in that situation would have been quite forgiven if they'd have told Mr. Sullivan to do one. And David Moyes went, nope, I'll take you on. Got us out of the relegation shit for a second time. We then come to his first full season as West Ham manager, and we're up to a 6th place finish and qualification for the Europa League. At one point, it looked like we might even get into the Champions League by finishing in 4th, but just fell away at the end. And then the following season, we have a European campaign alongside a domestic campaign. We get to the semi-finals of the Europa League, and we finish 7th in the Premier League, thereby qualifying for the Europa Conference League, which then the following season we actually lift. All right, at the same time, we have a season where in the Premier League we have a little bit of a brush with a relegation battle, but we managed to see that through. And then we come to this season, we start well, but then it all starts to go horribly wrong. And it's a sense of deja vu. It's here we go again. So, why is David Moyes not celebrated? Or it seems that way to me. When you look at his body of work, he probably should be. As I say, I believe it's because of the way he plays his football. It's not really the way that West Ham, as far as our traditions are concerned, have really been used to watching football being played. It's very boring, if I'm being completely honest. Now, I think I would tolerate boring football away from home against top 6 teams, and I think most West Ham fans are quite realistic in that. But I think when you're playing boring football at home against Sheffield United, with all due respect, for me, I think that's just, I don't know about unforgivable, maybe that's too strong a word, but it's certainly something that really gets my goat. You know, that shouldn't be happening. And like I say, the non-use of the talent that we've got, you look at what the talent we've got in youth grade teams look at last season, look what they're doing this season, and for them to not get a kick and for them to barely get any time in the first team squad is absolutely ridiculous. But am I out of order? Am I alone in having that thought that David Moyes should be a celebrated manager, but I'm not so sure he is? Maybe he will be in years to come, maybe not. Time will tell. But what do you think? So you've got two things to discuss there. Is the messaging from David Sullivan getting involved in the Divine Mubama contract standoff? Is the subliminal messaging there, hey kid, don't worry about him, he won't be here at the end of the season, sign for us? And are you excited by that? And why is David Moyes not as celebrated as he possibly ought to be? Let me know your thoughts. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell icon, all the good stuff. Leave me your comments below and I'll catch you next time. Stay safe. Come on you Irons.
The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies sub-distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on you Irons.